Now I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that wrote in when I did my battery install video to point out that I'd wired up my shunt wrong. I've never connected a shunt before, so I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just went by the diagram on the box. And if it hadn't been for you guys writing in and telling me that I'd done it wrong, I would have been none the wiser. So yeah, a real big thank you. And that's the one thing I like about this whole YouTube channel community, is that people do tend to stick together and help each other out, and I really do appreciate all of your help. So let's get into this and I'll explain exactly where I went wrong. So my biggest mistake was going by the diagram on the back of the box. This is the box that the shunt came in, and the shunt basically registers the voltage going in and out of the battery. And according to this diagram, it's really simple. You connect the shunt to the negative of the battery, and then the other negative wire goes to the system ground. And I took that as being the chassis of the vehicle. I thought, well, that's really simple. So that's exactly what I did. I connected my shunt from a negative cable. As you can see there, this negative wire goes to the top of the shunt, and then from the bottom of the shunt it goes down to ground. The mistake I made was to run a separate negative wire coming from the same terminal from the battery, and that is where I went wrong. This negative wire going to my fuse holder should have gone to the other side of the shunt, and the reason for that is because now the shunt won't measure the current coming out of the batteries. And the other mistake I made was my C-Tech charge controller, the negative wire from that I've connected straight to the battery as well, when that wire should have been the other side of the shunt. So let's break this down into simple terms, because that does sound rather complicated. Basically, you connect this wire to the negative of your battery, your leisure battery, and then everything else, everything goes on the other side of the shunt. No more negatives need to come from the battery. All your negatives have to go the other side of the shunt. It really is as simple as that. It was a simple schoolboy error, so now all I've got to do is put it right. Because I've got to move this as well, this is another thing, because I've got to change how this is wired, my positive cable has got to come from this terminal of this battery to this terminal on this battery. And I'll explain why once I've done it all. Well, I ended up running out of daylight, so I had to finish this off in the dark. So this is now the next day. So I'll quickly run through exactly what I've done to correct my rather terrible mistake. Let's have a look and I'll show you exactly what I've done. So let's take a real close-up look at what I've actually done here. The most obvious thing is the fuse box. I've flipped it over so my negative is next to the shunt and the positive is more in line with the positive of the battery. Just makes it that little bit neater. Now, talking about the positive side, you'll also notice I've put an isolator switch. This switch isolates all the power going to the fuse board from my battery. Now, while we're talking about the positive side also, I just want to point out that all our positives go to this terminal here and is simply bridged to our second battery across here. But all our negative goes from this battery. That gives us a nice cross flow of current across both batteries. It ensures that batteries are charged together and they're also drawn together. It creates that nice cross charge or cross connection. So all our positives come from this battery, all our negative comes from this battery. But here's the thing, here's the difference. The negative side of things is where the shunt comes into play. And this is where I went wrong. I should have connected my shunt directly to my negative terminal on my battery, and that is it, nothing else. Don't connect anything else to your negative side of the battery, just your shunt. And then this side of the shunt, this becomes your negative terminal. So this part here, this replaces your battery basically. So all your negatives must come to this side of the shunt. That includes charge controller, fuse box, and the negative ground to the van. It's as simple as that, and that's where I made my mistake. I connected my C-Tech to my battery and I shouldn't have done. I should have connected it to the negative side of the shunt. Well, I hope all that made sense, but if it didn't, don't worry. I've created a wiring diagram which I shall play at the end of this video, and I'll leave it up there for about 10 seconds so you've got plenty of time to freeze frame and to have a good look at that diagram. Okay then, well thanks for watching, ta-ra for now.